Ba-da-da-da-da-da. Dungeons and Dopamine.
Hello and welcome to episode 38 of Dungeons and Dopamine. I'm Bree.
I'm Jess.
I'd like you to know that I point at myself when I do that, just in case.
You do.
Just in case somebody watching needs to know which one is Bree. It's me.
I mean, I like to think that I'm the only one watching.
You would think so. No guarantees. No guarantees.
I mean, you are sitting in front of the window.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Depends on the binoculars, I guess.
Telescope. Scope, like gun sight.
Oh, shoot.
If I see
Took
a
a
red
dark
dot
turn.
on you, I'll let you know.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Doc! So, Zach watches a lot of car shows because that's what he does. And there's a new one, and it's some sort of cars and history mix, plus they're funny. I don't know. It was actually really good.
Oh,
But
okay.
they have some sort of animation that very cleverly animates whatever they're saying. And it's not super high quality, but it was pretty well done. And I'm looking at Zach and I was like, I need you to figure out how to do that so that something can just animate everything Jessica and I say so we can put it on YouTube and it would be amazing.
So I tried to get AI to create animations for our clips that I've been putting out recently.
How's that going?
The clips are a blast. I actually, so AI costs money to make animations, which I guess makes sense. But I decided that I was just going to do what I could do in Canva. And I knew it was going to look sort of janky, so I leaned into it. And I made our little logo characters, us, which I've always pictured them as us anyway.
Yeah. Well, duh.
And apparently I made the purple one me, because that's where my voice comes from. And I made the green one you,
Which is
because
fair.
that's where your voice comes from. And it wasn't even like a chosen thing. It was just the way that they lined up. And they talk in word bubbles where I put images in Canva, and I actually quite love it.
I have been enjoying those. They're beautiful. Not as much as the sound clip idea that you've been adding for like the Tuesday coming soon release.
Yes, because, you know, mystery makes me want to learn history.
Ooh, new tagline.
TM, that's ours.
Eating some joy your way with the... I already forgot what you said. Mystery of history?
Sure, yeah. I feel like we don't have any banter because we saw each other Friday and it was a wild night, and
it was a wild night. D&D got
cray.
Cray.
I mixed my slimes.
It was really off the rails, you guys. There were no rules.
I got paunched.
Many times. So much paunching.
And
I
that's
was a bird.
You
few
were.
times.
But yeah, you just learned that Rob is actually writing our campaign.
Yeah, I thought he just had it memorized, I guess. Like, I was a little confused why he didn't have a
If
book.
anyone could memorize it, it would be him.
That's kind of what I figured.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know, maybe this is like his go-to one with beginner groups. And no, it's because it's all in his brain.
He also has the advantage, because of that, of telling us that something was completely on purpose, even if it wasn't.
That fuzzball just landed on your eyebrow like it was meant to be there.
I was really confused.
It was like, no, listen, this is where I go.
Hey, listen. I wonder if anybody will get that reference. Ryan will. You obviously did. I got new furniture.
Yay.
I'm sure everyone listening is excited about it.
They are.
It was an opportunity furniture collecting, because it would have been really dumb to just purchase new furniture right now.
This is definitely that stage in our lives where we need new furniture very much, but I refuse to buy it because we have a 7-year-old and 3 dogs. So anything we spend money on is still gonna get destroyed.
Yep.
So we just make do.
We got hand-me-down furniture because my aunt was getting rid of it to get new furniture, which worked out really well. We were originally going to bring it upstairs when the upstairs was done, and then we looked at our current sectional and we're like, yeah, no matter what she brings in any condition is going to be better than this. Like, there could have been worms crawling out of it, and it would have been nicer than what our sectional is like. So the sectional is going to come up here, but it was still, like, our sectional now lives in the library corner of my house.
There does seem to be an excess of furniture in your house right now. There's like 4 couches in your living room.
Oh, there's a couch in my garage.
Yep.
But, as you can tell, I have nothing else to talk about.
We did not prepare any topics for today. This is just Jessica and Brienne catch up and talk about whatever happens to tangent their way. If a squirrel runs by.
Oh, look, a little squirrel.
Or the turkeys. In this episode, we just make animal noises.
Moo. Let's talk about zebras. Nay.
I like that your zebra's nay.
All zebras are zebras. This is my donkey zebra. This is my horse zebra. This is my Clydesdale zebra.
Ooh, I want a Clydesdale zebra.
Right. I'll take any of the above mentioned, except maybe an actual zebra. I don't think I want one of those. They seem mean.
Really?
Yeah, they're kicky and
Kicky.
Have you ever
That's
choked
the
on your
secret
spit?
society of the zebras secretly poisoning you.
They don't like it when I talk about their secrets.
The only experience I have with zebras are the ones at the zoo that are usually with the giraffes. So I assume they are cool dudes.
Loving creatures. They have to keep them with the giraffes to keep them in line.
Giraffes just kick them.
Head slam them. Have you seen the video of the donkey who really likes rubber chickens?
No. But I want to.
Owner, she's fantastic. She's a TikToker, so I will, if I ever see it, I'll send it to you. And I can repost it from Dungeons and Dopamine if I ever find it again. She got a rubber chicken in the mail for her donkey. She gave it to him, and he figured out that if he bites it and then flicks it around in his mouth, it squeaks constantly. And he loves them. Like, runs around throwing his head around and bucking and squeaking his toy. And inevitably, he'll squeak it to death.
Right.
So
as they do.
Yep. So then you have to replace it. And so he'll run up with the dead one in his mouth and take the one that squeaks and go run around joyfully with it again.
So one of my alternate life goals, if, I ended up with, like, stupid amounts of money or something happened or I suddenly learned how to write grants really well, I really want to have a farm for unloved animals. And it would be like the one-eyed cats or the three-legged dogs or the senior dogs that get left behind in the shelters. And it all started because there was a donkey listed on Facebook. And it was a mentally handicapped donkey.
Aww.
And it was special needs, and it needed, like, it was very friendly, but it was like, it had whatever the Down syndrome version of is for donkeys. And Zach would not let me go get it. It was probably because I was like 8 months pregnant at the time.
And you just moved into a new home and...
But I don't know what the issue was. He's so mean, you guys. So I do not have a handicapped donkey, but I do have a dog with Addison's disease.
Ditto.
And a dog that has, like, elbow joint issues.
And one that gets affected by lights.
Yes. One that is a little OCD about lights and reflections. And someday
you're gonna have a special dog.
Yep. And a whole farm full of broken, unloved animals that live out the rest of their happy lives.
I feel like that'd need to be a full-time job.
Oh yeah, I'd have to have like farm hands and
like money for, because your old dogs, I'm just speaking from my experience with my old dog, who used to be incredibly active. So she went from like 60 to 0 is basically how she went. She's an Australian Shepherd, and still has a spurt every once in a while where she goes outside and like flings herself around, but then she's like, okay, I'm dead.
I need to lay down for 3 days now.
But yeah, so she needs nice comfy bed. And you'd probably have to change it after every single dog, because older dogs also have incontinence.
Lots of accidents. Yep.
Upset tummies sometimes.
And we'd basically have to have a vet either on staff all the time, or at least one we could call in, like emergency vet style. A friend of mine had a great idea. If we ever, got to a stage in our lives where we had time to write grants and things, she would combine it with like a re-entry into the workforce program, either for mentally handicapped individuals that were still able to work but maybe needed extra guidance, or prisoners that had been released and needed help finding jobs and getting back into society. And then you combine it with like a therapy, an additional like therapy thing.
That would
like
be
equestrian
incredible.
therapy is huge right now.
Yes.
And it would just I could save the world if somebody would just give me the money to do it.
I just need a lot of it. And like specialists.
Yeah. And like a team of people to keep my life in track so that I can keep all of my ideas on track.
Yeah. I'll work at your farm though.
Yeah, you have to.
And I'll do your social media.
Perfect. Because we're going to need tons of donations.
Absolutely. I'll be there taking pictures, dressing the animals up in costumes. I suppose I'll take pictures of that.
I guess.
Yep. I'm in. I'll bring Stella. She'll love it.
Yeah.
She'd be in heaven.
And then Echo can come too, and her and Ralphie can just hang out.
And growl at everyone. No, Echo doesn't growl.
But Ralph will for her.
Yeah.
He'll be her little bodyguard.
She would love it.
She'd be like, why are you growling at me?
I just hit my microphone with my slushy cup.
Why are you always so abusive to your microphone?
That's between my microphone and
It deserves it, okay. So,
this is a weird year.
It is a weird year. Do you know why?
Tell me.
So while I was thinking about Zach and I's how we met, or beginning of our relationship story, I was reminded that we have an anniversary this year, because 2024 is in fact a leap day year. It was really hard to Google leap day year. First of all, there's like 6 different types of calendars dating back to like the original calendars, and they all had their own version of a leap day.
That's very irritating.
Right? Or like some calendars had a whole month, because so if you don't know, the reason we have a leap day is because the astronomical time does not actually match up perfectly with our current calendar system, because it just doesn't evenly divide on, however they're measuring how the sun and the earth. Science people have made this determination.
Science people.
And so in our calendar, in our Gregorian calendar, we have a leap day. And this is one thing I did not know. So if you start with the Jurian calendar, which we talked about recently with all my New Year's Day stuff.
Except when you say Jurian, it just reminds me of an eyeball ring.
And now we have to spend the whole rest of the episode talking about Sarah J. Maas books. But the Jurian calendar, actually it's the Julian calendar, so obviously I have Jurian on the brain anyway. The Julian calendar threw in a leap day, but it was just every 4 years there was a leap day. With our Gregorian calendar, even that wasn't close enough. It couldn't just be every 4 years. So it is actually every year that is exactly divisible by 4 is a leap year, except for years that are exactly divisible by 100. But these centurial years are leap years if they are exactly divisible by 400. For example, the years 1700, 1800, and 1900 are not leap years, but the years 1600 and 2000 are. Did you know it had to be that specific?
Obviously, yes. I would have told you all of that if you would have just asked.
That is common knowledge. Even kindergarteners know that.
Let's bring Carly up here to teach you.
So that's why we have a leap day. As I said, other calendars, there's one that has like a whole month. There's a meme going around right now with the Breaking Bad guys, Bryan Cranston and Jesse.
Yeah.
I'm mixing up their names.
Yeah, you are.
And he's like, there should be 13 months and each of them should be 28 days. And it's supposed, like, his math seems to work out. I'm not smart enough to have actually tried to math it out.
That's really loud.
But apparently the scientists have decided that this is how it must be. So 2024 is a leap day year. And there are actually a few leap day traditions beyond just the fact that we have to have it for science things. And the most well-known one, especially since I talked about it last week, is this is mostly an Irish tradition, and it is that women can propose to men on leap day. And this comes from the story with Saint Bridget or Saint Bríd, depending on how you decide you want to refer to her. And she made a deal with St. Patrick that, you know, to be equal, women should be able to propose to men. And he was like, well, I'll give you guys like one day every 7 years or something. And she was like, fine, but how about every 4 years? He was like, fine, I guess. So we had to have a whole day for it, but we can only have it every 4 years, and it can we can propose to men. And I have
so much to say
on the the equality part of it. Mm-hmm. And I mean, but it's still not very common in the United States or any cultures for women to propose to men.
And I'm not gonna lie, I've never thought about proposing. I mean, I am married and have been for 11 years, so I've not thought
it'd be weird if you did.
Yeah. I mean, if Pedro walked in.
Just down on one knee. You would not even wait for leap day. There were actually some parts of Ireland and some cultures where they actually made it illegal for a man to say no if a woman proposed to him on leap day.
I hate that.
But the fine for it was only that the man had to, like, in some cultures or some stories, he had to buy her 12 pairs of gloves, you know, to hide her unwed finger. Or you might have to buy her, like, a new silk dress so she can go attract a new suitor, like, new fabric for a new dress. Like, it wasn't, he didn't go to jail for it.
Good. Especially because, like, can you imagine you've been, like, courting with a man, and then leap day comes and, like, Cindy from down the road comes and proposes.
She, like, runs up first thing that morning. He opens the door and she's waiting for him.
Down on a knee.
You're mine now.
Sucker.
One story said that a man who said no might also have to perform a juggling trick on Easter Day. So I assume in some cultures it was kind of just used as like a silly, you know, some towns will make silly, like, today is superhero day and the whole city celebrates so I assume it was something like that. But, and I'll post these when this episode airs. The United States got into this leap day thing and took it, like, way further than it needed to go. And they made all these, like, postcards, and it's all from, like, 1904, 1908, 1912. And one of them, and I remember finding this one when I decided to propose to Zach. And it's cute. It's just like the old style kid drawings, and it says a leap year proposal. In leap year, it's the thing for gals. No. No, it doesn't. It says in leap year, it's the thing for girls, their preference is to stay. And so I guess that I proposed that we should make a date. Aww. And I was like, oh, that's cute. Adorable. But then they get super aggressive, like these poor men are being like accosted by women in the woods, just like waiting for him to walk by so they can like jump out and propose to him. Like, in this one, she's like threatening him, say yes or I'll press this button. And this one is just a woman chasing a man with a net. And it says, you're not safe in 1908 unless you have your marriage license. So they took this kind of cute tradition and, made it this women only want one thing, and they're literally going to like track you down and force you into marriage, because what else could they possibly do?
This is the only time in my entire life that I can think of those horrible cake toppers of like the woman dragging the man in. Which normally I hate those. I think those are highly offensive, and if Ryan had suggested one, I would have been like, let's just not get married.
If I have to drag you to the altar, I don't want to marry you.
They must have made them at the same time.
Oh yeah, this was all for the like I said, I'll post I'll post some of them, but I'll also post the link. There's a whole website, by the way, that's just it's like basically an old Angel Fire website, and it's just devoted to leap year babies, or like leap year information. And there's like message boards where you can tell your leap year baby story, and a lot of them had issues with, like, doctors would try to falsify their birth certificate and say, like, no, we'll just say she was born on the 28th, or we'll just say she was born on March 1st, because nobody wants a New Year, a leap day baby. Or, like, apparently it's a big problem. There are computer systems, like, when you are asked your birthday, if you try to put in February 29th, they won't recognize it as a date. So this website talks about what to do in these situations, which I thought was ridiculous and awesome.
Right.
So I'll post the link to that. There's all these incredibly offensive postcards about how women have to force and trick men into marrying us. Most people think of Leap Day. There was a movie in 2010 called Leap Year, which is actually probably where I heard about it the first time. But in this movie, I think her name is Amy Adams. She's her boyfriend is in Ireland, and she learns about Leap Day, and she travels to Ireland to try to like track him down and propose to him before the day is over. I don't remember how it ends, or if it's actually cute or a little bit disturbing, or like he treats her awfully. I'm sure there's some sort of like...
She gets there and he's cheating.
Yeah, he actually turns out to be a terrible person, because that's what we did in the 2010s. But other than that, so if you are waiting for an excuse to propose to your boyfriend, Leap Day is this year. For my own proposal, I bought Zach a watch because it felt weird to buy him a ring. And it was cute, but awkward, because that's what I am. And we're still here. It'll be 12 years this year, so that's awesome.
I remember getting the photo of the watch before you proposed.
I couldn't remember. There was only like 3 people I told besides my work friends, because they were there for me to plan it.
They created
but I think it was just you, Jenna, Jody, and Jen. I'm sure. Just my 4 J's, apparently. I can only be friends with you if your name starts with a J. Other Leap Day traditions, like I said, there's this crazy website where people that are born on February 29th can join like this honor society of leap year babies. They've made February 29th, or actually it's the last day of February, is Rare Disease Day.
Oh.
Which raises awareness for rare diseases and helps improve access to treatment and medical representation, which is fitting.
Like a fun shtick.
Yeah.
To do. Like, I know that the idea of that isn't a joke, but
Right.
I like what they've chosen to do with that. I was gonna say that it should just be Purge Day, but that's much better.
I mean, in Greece, it is considered unlucky to get married on a leap year. So 1 in 5 engaged couples in Greece will actually plan to avoid getting married in a leap year. There is a town in Texas called Anthony, Texas, that in 1988 declared itself the leap year capital of the world. There's a leapling birthday club.
Can we just declare ourselves the leap year podcast of the world?
Yes. I'm going to write to Guinness World Records.
Perfect.
And have it declared. There are Guinness World Records of families that have had multiple babies born on February 29th. Like, one of them had 3 babies that had not, like, triplets. That would be cheating.
Yeah.
3 separate children that have all been born on February 29th. I tried to look through the list of famous leap day babies, but the only one I really recognized was Ja Rule, and honestly, I can't even tell you what he does. I know he's like a rapper or
I was gonna say, I think he's
entertainer of some sort.
Isn't he in the Fast and Furious as well? I don't know.
No, probably. And I also found out that at some point, Time Magazine declared that Superman's birthday is February 29th. I don't know why Time Magazine decided it, but it was a big thing.
Okay, but like, can we just make declarations?
Apparently, if you are a magazine, yes.
Dungeons and Dopamine magazine says this podcast is the best in the world.
Mm-hmm. I mean, publish it.
Get it to the presses. I'm digging it. I just don't understand why you get to make those decisions.
Like you can just make your town the leap year baby capital of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, have you done anything to earn that?
Is there a reason?
Anyway, interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know I didn't know a lot about Yeepiler.
Well, that's because that's not a thing, okay?
I don't know about English.
Apparently there are a bunch of like children's books written about having a birthday on leap day because it happens often enough that like children are sad that they don't get their birthday every year.
Yeah. I could see that too.
It was, I mean, just stuff I hadn't thought about this day that only exists every 4 years.
I remember having a few like school talks about it when it would happen while we were in school. It would be like, it's leap year. Yeah.
That's exactly how I remember it. Every class you walked into, they'd be like, yeah, leap day. Woo.
And I think they'd point out that, some kids' birthdays. I don't know if anyone we knew was, but
there is someone, but I
in
can't.
Our school,
yeah. Oh no, I have a cousin.
It's me.
Oh shoot! I have a cousin that I'm not close with, whose mom is a leap year baby or a leap day baby.
Dog was born on leap day.
We used to celebrate it the one time.
I feel like this whole episode has just been something different.
I agree. The second episodes just get kind of squirrely sometimes. The third ones can get totally unhinged, but fourth episodes are like not exciting at all. It's just us going, yeah, I agree with you. I also agree with that.
So, the dog man is on 7 years.
So that's just like leap year.
Yeah.
Insert cheesy smile here.
It's gonna be the image for this episode. Not catacombs,
No.
not leap year, not like a calendar.
Just me going. Which people can totally see.
I can see it, and that's really
all that
Dungeons
matters.
and Dopamine magazine says that's all that matters.
Yep.
I have a topic for you.
Tell me.
As long as I'm not interrupting.
No, you're good.
You done.
No one cares about the rest of this.
Okay, shh. Now it's my turn.
We're not in Anthony, Texas. We do not need to talk about Leap Day anymore.
I do feel like it'd be cool to have, like, I don't know, something fun on that.
I wonder if I could declare Fruitland Township something similar, like as my last motion before I retire my local government. I'll just declare Fruitland Township like Dragon Day and like force the resolution into like we have to buy a hot air balloon that
has our logo on it.
that flies over the entire township every year on June 5th.
Hand puppets. Do you remember the hand puppets? Everyone's about to learn about the hand puppets. I had to trim stuff out of that episode, and I got to those, and I was like, none of this is going.
This has to stay.
So this is a part 2. Not of love, which was what I talked about last week. We talked about last week. I'm sorry for cutting you out of this.
Jeez, Jessica.
I did it better.
We share this podcast, okay?
I talked about love better than you. Dungeons and Dopamine magazine says.
Jessica talks about love better.
Sorry. We talked about love, but this is not the continuation of love. There is no love.
We're done with
We're
that,
done
okay?
with love. The catacombs of Paris.
Yes, I'm
Which
excited.
I edited the episode recently, and it was still as exciting to listen to as it was to tell. I think everyone should go watch some of the videos and stuff. It's just so cool. Anyway.
She's so excited, you guys.
I know, it's so weird. So, I talked about how cool the history of the catacombs was. Talked about how they got started, and that, you know, there's not very much of it that the public is able to see, and etc., for like 25 minutes. But now, I want to talk about the mystery and the mythos and the conspiracies about the catacombs. So, the catacombs, I'm saying this with a chuckle because of Pavalia. So the combs are believed to be one of the most haunted places in the world. But so was Pavalia.
And they were dirty liars.
They kept such good records that they couldn't be haunted.
But also, there is definitely proof of many, many bones in these catacombs.
So much death.
Not like those fake
them.
millions of people, thousands of people that died on that island.
So, true. Very true. Now, there are claims of people hearing whispers, moans, and seeing shadow people, which is my least favorite ick of all the icks. Now, it's something I read. I wrote, it said that the boneyard changes after midnight, and if you're down there, you'll start hearing the walls speak to you. And what they're saying is whatever it takes to get you to go further into the catacombs to get lost and become one of the voices in the wall.
More wine this way.
Puppies! And I'm like, yay! That's how I die in the catacombs.
You just, put some shiny lights down a hallway and I'll walk myself right down there.
You won't go into their home, or you'll go to their home, but they can't come into yours.
Exactly.
I don't know if you remember, I mentioned at the very end last week's It was a leap week.
According to Dungeons and Dopamine magazine, it was a leap week.
And that's when I mentioned the man that had walked in from the hospital and gotten lost and passed away.
Mm-hmm.
It's said that his ghost will be seen in the area near his tombstone, and it's kind of trying to find its way out.
Poor man.
And also creepy. Ugh.
No.
Not at all. It's just sad.
He just needs some directions.
Dungeons and Dopamine's magazine says,
nah.
just give him directions.
He just needs help, okay?
Apparently, Ghost Adventures, who we know was on Pavalia and had a bad reaction to shellfish, they did an episode, which I once again did not watch, and they had a lot of experience, even some of their equipment stolen, which is pretty scary.
Yeah. What do you think the ghosts do with the equipment?
They record voices to put in the walls of the boneyard.
They're like, I don't want to do this every night anymore. Can we just set this up to repeat?
Look, I really want to catch up on my shows.
Larry's trying to retire this year, you guys. We need a way to play this.
Exactly. There are photos of these, which are, some of them are not safe for work. You gotta be careful looking through them. A lot of bones of explorers who have been lost, which of course don't include the ones that would have been in the boneyards.
Right.
There's a lot of people who get lost while exploring down there, and while a lot of them do get out, not all of them do. So you will stumble across a decomposing body, or one that has been in a collapse. And yeah, I didn't stumble onto the not safe for work photos very willingly, but I did, and I did not dig into them. Mm-hmm. What I saw said they get worse as they go.
No, thank you.
Yeah. So, one very creepy story I want to tell you, and you can find the footage of this online very easily. In the 1990s, a group of the cataphiles, if you'll remember, those are the people who explore. Urban explorers is what I would call them, but they specifically do the catacombs. They found a video camera, on the ground. And the camera's footage, you can hear, it's like a first-person point of view. They're walking through the catacombs, and you can hear a lot of really creepy noises. You can tell that the man who's carrying the camera is lost, and he can't find a way to escape. So I'm going to read this part. The more they watched it, the cataphiles, the more it became clear the man was going mad in the underground network of tunnels.
Oh my gosh.
The video ends abruptly with the man dropping the camera to the ground. To this day, no one knows who he is or if he ever managed to get out alive. It's believed that he's the inspiration for a movie that came out called As Above, So Below. It's kind of terrifying. I didn't listen to it with the sound on. I just watched the general... I didn't watch much of it. I just watched kind of the split second before he drops the camera.
Ugh.
It's really scary, and he doesn't... Unless the clip I watched cut it off, he doesn't go running forward. He just drops the camera, which would make me assume he went backward.
Right.
Why? Why would you drop... Ugh. It's very eerie. So as far as hauntings, I didn't find a whole lot of information. Just some about the shadow people, which is terrifying enough.
Yeah.
I don't need more than that. And then they say that you can see the ghost of the guy who was stuck down there. Mm-hmm. I did find a lot, though, about human alive creepiness, which I find far more terrifying than like ghosts and zombies and monsters. A lot of different websites online. I went through a lot. They talked about an actual civilization of people who live in the catacombs. They all said that these people who live there don't like tourists, and they don't like anybody from the surface. They consider anyone of any nationality a tourist. And they have people who will run up, grab your flashlight and your map, and run away.
No, thank you.
That's what I said.
So we are not adding the catacombs to our list of places to visit?
Only the tourist parts with the bones.
In the middle of the day.
Yes, with
when
tour
it's
guides.
Safe, yes.
Now, I did also stumble upon people who said that this was a rumor.
Okay.
A lot of cataphiles go in and out just fine. I've never had this, but some people claim that there are people that will do this. And I could see it.
Yeah.
I could believe it. In 2004, there was a group of police officers doing like a training exercise down there. They were searching, but it was also training, I guess. I'm not sure. And they found I wrote some strange things.
That's it.
That's
That's all you get to know.
Woohoo! Okay, bye. Thanks for listening. So, I'm going to read this as it was written. First, they found a PA system playing pre-recorded guard dog barking. Then they found 3,000 square feet of galleries wired for phones using pirated electricity. The officers also found a bar, living area, workshop, lounge, and even a cinema with room to seat 20 people. The cinema seats had been carved into the stone of the catacombs.
Holy cow.
The creepiest part of the whole thing was that there were cameras recording them on the ceiling.
Oh.
The ceiling had also been, this is not part of what I had just read, but the ceiling was also painted with the Stars of David, swastikas, and Celtic crosses, which does suggest that whoever had done this wasn't religious fanatic. They were just a group.
Mm-hmm.
They believe that the amphitheater, which was the area rigged with the dog barking, was to scare anybody who might be exploring away. So then the police went back a few days later, and everything was gone. The power lines were cut. Everything was missing. There was a note on the floor that said, "Don't try to find us."
Okay. No problem.
Dungeons and Dopamine says we won't. Sorry, Dungeons and Dopamine magazine says we won't. A group called the Mexican Consolidated Drilling Authority admitted to being the culprits of all of this, and they apparently organize art events in the catacombs where they do this kind of stuff, and it's seemingly quite revered within artist circles and stuff like that. They've been a club doing this in rundown areas of their city, of Paris in this case, for 40 years.
Oh, that's cool. It reminds me of that episode of Gilmore Girls with the Secret Society. You jump, I jump, Jack.
Yes, that's one of my most favorite episodes
Same.
ever.
It reminds me of that. Like a secret society.
In omnia paratus.
It also reminds me of the box trolls, though.
It reminds me of the buttercream gang. So, to each his own. The cataphiles that I've mentioned previously are said to sometimes have pool parties in the pools, the natural occurring pools down there. The thing that freaks me out about them is that the pools are really hard to reach sometimes, and they can be so deep that you only have a few inches of air to stick your head out.
Oh no.
That's what I said. Thanks. There were some pictures of people, and all you could see was from their neck up, and their heads were touching ceilings. So I was like, yeah, no.
Can't do it.
I'll swim at my hotel.
I'll wait for you guys at the hotel.
And then as I was researching this, someone said it's basically like swimming in cold human soup because there's so many dead bodies down there.
Oh no.
And I was like, I can't anymore. And then I saw something that said, and this is mostly a satire, but that they flood the tunnels on purpose to keep the monsters wet. And I was like, no, thank you. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
Yeeted myself right out of that situation.
Out of that whole thought process thing.
I was still curious about people living below because it didn't say if that group lived in the catacombs or just went down there for these events.
Right.
So
set it up and tore it down and
yeah, exactly.
moved it around.
So I came across a little bit of everything. I saw that there was a society started in World War II of people who were hiding down there, and they've been living and reproducing down there, which is almost the most terrifying one to me, to think that the natural changes that a body would make to live down there, to thrive down there, would, especially in a
could
war,
start a whole new race of people.
Exactly.
Like night vision people.
Yes. Someone wrote, there's just a group of dudes that live down there like 80% of the time.
Yeah, totally.
And I was like, scientific, very good.
Just a group of dudes. They got tired of their wives. They wanted a place to do their fantasy football Sunday get together. So they went down to the catacombs and they were like, this is fine.
This is nice.
We don't ever have to leave.
Hey guys, have you tried the cold body soup? There were some people that said no. There's absolutely no one living down there.
But it's how many miles of tunnels?
It's, I'm sorry, like 1,500
yeah.
miles. It was something absurd.
Like how, and people get lost and die just like looking through them. Like how can you be sure?
Exactly. And it would be, I mean, there's obviously ways to pirate electricity down there. Mm-hmm. Aside from the dampness, which would be the biggest problem.
People choose to live in like humidity places.
Exactly. I mean, there's ways. Mm-hmm. There are some photos that I saw. These ones thankfully were not safe for work, of people like creeping around corners, like watching from around corners. I saw some with people wearing masks.
Oh no.
And now it would be really easy.
I would die.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like if I was on a tour there and like looked and there was a person around the corner wearing a mask, I would pee my pants and run out of there, like never live it down.
Especially if they're like, hey, you want to come to this human soup pool?
Dungeons and Dopamine magazine says it's the best cold body soup pool around.
4 stars. Fun for the whole family. I mean, these photos would be so easy to fake. Mm-hmm. There's an artist who does very eccentric photos, and there's an image of him nakedly running at his camera in the catacombs, and he calls it like an art piece. So,
and somebody else has that same story, but it's like we were wandering through the catacombs and there was this weird guy that was running at us naked.
Exactly. Yes. So it's really hard to tell, but it is still terrifying. I mean, the pictures of the catacombs are if you didn't have any problem with tight spaces, but I do. So looking at them is already difficult and disturbing. And then there's a guy peeking around the corner in like a Satan mask. Right. It's terrifying.
But logistically, if you were homeless in Paris, and you needed a clean, safe, dry place, and you could somehow legitimately set up a system to get through there without, getting lost and dying.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, I would.
Right, exactly.
I mean, no, I probably wouldn't because I really like sunshine.
And I hate dark, dank, tight spaces.
But at least a place to sleep. Mm-hmm. Like, I'd probably go find myself a corner of the catacombs every night.
And it's cool. In the Parisian summers where it's hot, you'd be nice and cool. There's freshwater spaces in there. Mm-hmm.
I can go for a swim in the cold body soup if I want to.
Clean myself up. Talk with the voices in the walls. One of the most disturbing things that I read, and I don't know why it freaked me so much, was that someone saying you won't find a lot about the communities of people online, but if you go to Paris and you speak mouth to mouth with people, they know. And that really freaked me out for some reason.
Right?
Like, Is there a group of people actively scouring the internet to take down mention of themselves?
Stop telling people about us.
We're better than Disney at keeping your name out my wife's lips or whatever. No, keep my wife's name out your dang mouth. There's a church down below that was discovered, and it's beneath another church.
Oh, that's cool.
There's a fountain of spring water in it, so there's some more fresh drinking water.
It's really everything you need.
I headed to Reddit because that's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Wanted to see what people were saying. One Redditor said that they heard music and they followed it and found orchestra students performing. They even had a violin case set out for donations.
That would be cool.
One man said that he visited, and the only part he found terrifying was the tiny spaces. He did say they ran into a stoner who told them about an exit that they didn't know about. In 1824, a murder happened. There was a man who was courting this wealthy widow, and he was a torchbearer for the catacombs. So he told the widow and her daughter he would give them a tour. And they all went in, and only he ever came out. I couldn't find a lot about that.
She probably haunts it there too.
Probably.
And her daughter.
Probably anybody who looks like that dude. Creepo. There was a heist from the catacombs. In 2017, a group of thieves used the catacombs to access the underground vault of a nearby apartment building. They drilled through the limestone walls to gain access to a collection of vintage wine with a value of nearly $275,000.
I think I vaguely remember that story.
Maybe now that you said it, I do too. Or you're just putting the idea in my mind. Dungeons and Dopamine magazine says you remember.
Absolutely.
Also, apparently, it's a really good place to grow mushrooms. Not mushrooms.
I mean, you probably could.
Maybe, yeah. I guess which one? But they grow them there, and they taste really good when you grow them there.
All right.
It was something the Napoleonic armies, they hid there and found it as the perfect place to grow mushrooms, which makes sense.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Like damp,
dark,
and yeah, perfect.
Humid.
That was what I found. I mean, it's a terrible ending. Mushrooms that are delicious.
Conclude better, Jessica.
Dungeons and Daggett. This is Angry Beavers now. Norbit Daggett.
Gosh, I had not thought about the Angry Beavers in so long.
And now you do. I'm wearing
you for that.
A real monster skin.
Yay!
Dungeons and Dopamine magazine says that was a great ending.
The best ending of 2024.
Of 2014.
That's really good. Like, there's always topics where I'm like, I want to research more. But last week when you finished, I was like, no, let's keep going.
It was so interesting, and there's still so much out there. I did, at the point where I was getting these notes for today, it was starting to get repetitive, especially when I started searching for like the creepier things. It was all the same.
Well, and it's almost like our United States versions of like haunted houses, right?
Yeah.
Like you want to go in there and scare yourself because
exactly.
It's not as cool if you don't.
I do think that a good 80% of the fear of the catacombs, especially knowing why the bones are there and how they were exhumed and treated very respectfully now, that doesn't scare me anymore.
Right.
And that's one thing that they tried to make scary.
And it was so pretty.
Yes.
Like the fact that they arranged the bones in such a way to like make real walls and make sure that they stood for years and they like do upkeep and
and someone did say it is really overwhelming and a little scary to think that those were all people at some point.
Well,
and like a poke at your mortality, which makes sense, but it's not. The most scary thing to me is the tight, dark Like, so dark. There's no light penetrating.
And that man watching me around the corner with a mask on, okay?
It's just the stoner. He'll let you know where the nearest exit is. Don't worry.
He's fine.
I did read more than one thing that said people go down there to get stoned all the time.
Oh, absolutely.
So they also smell like weed.
It's this dark, scary place that just smells like skunk all the time.
It smells like New York down here.
True.
Sorry, that was my experience in New York.
Well, it was recently legal.
Yes, and that's why
they were
it was.
very excited.
They were very excited. So, I think the catacombs are still fascinating. I'd love to
I do kind of want to go there.
I do.
So
Only
someday
the
when
areas where
we're
allowed.
famous from the podcast, we'll be able to go on like a world tour where we just
Yes.
visit all the sites that we talk about. So we're going to have to talk about some more cool sites.
Oh, for sure. There's some more catacombs that I'd like to talk about.
There we go.
I think there are some Scottish ones that I want to talk about. I think if you talk about word origins and the different origins from different countries, we could get away with going to all those countries.
Mm-hmm.
I just had deja
We
vu.
totally go to Germany and Poland at this
Duh.
point. You're getting so good at this.
I'm amazing.
You've really been working on your foreign
It used to be
languages.
offensive. Now it's quirky. I like the catacombs. I'd love to learn more. I would go back into the scientific side of it because I feel like I really drained all of the creepies.
Like, it's not scary anymore, guys.
No, I feel like even the hauntings, I was like, oh, I really want to see some cool ghost stories. No, you know what? Just tell me more about them.
You were like, okay, stop making up ghost stories.
Exactly. So, that's that. That's the catacombs in Paris. You now know everything there is to know about them. Except
Everything.
you don't.
Everything. Dungeons and Dopamine magazine says, I know everything about the catacombs.
And Dungeons and Dopamine magazine is never wrong.
Ever.
It sounds terrifying.
They said so.
Dungeons and Dopamine magazine says Dungeons and Dopamine magazine is never wrong. Look, if we can declare, we're gonna declare.
We're going full force ahead.
I'm in. It's gonna be amazing.
Yeah.
So this was Dungeons and Dopamine podcast.
And you can listen to us anywhere you stream podcasts and on YouTube.
You can support us on Patreon at www.patreon.com/dungeonsdopamine.
And Dungeons and Dopamine magazine says you totally should support us on Patreon.
Absolutely. And now it is in stone, and it shall be.
You can also find us on Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Insta, and Reddit.
You can reach out to us on any of those socials, as well as our email, dungeonsdopamine@yahoo.com.
And Dungeons and Dopamine is edited and published by Argyle Pigeon Productions.
That's it. Thank you. We love you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.